A rude billionaire wife paid her maid to be her surrogate. But what she didn't know was, some things money just can't control. She thought she could buy loyalty, buy silence, even buy motherhood. But when the tables turned, and the woman she once commanded stood between her and the children she prayed for, she realized too late. Don't scroll past this, because sometimes God uses the people you least respect to teach you the lesson you most refuse to learn. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin. In the quiet but busy city of Port Harcourt, where traffic and ambition goes hand in hand, lived a woman named Olivia. She wasn't just working, she was running things. The general manager of one of the biggest oil and gas companies in Nigeria, her presence alone could make junior staff hold their breath. She drove a 2022 Lexus SUV, wore designer heels that could pay someone's rent for 6 months, and carried power in her eyes. But the one thing she didn't carry was peace at home. There was Dave, her husband, a brilliant, soft-spoken tech CEO, rich, neat, and romantic to the core. A man that loved his wife, but didn't like begging for attention. Dave used to say, "Olivia, is it only board meeting you know about? How far with our own family meeting? When are we going to start our own family?" But Olivia would brush him off like dandruff. "Please, Dave, don't start. I'm preparing for an international conference. The HR from Dubai just scheduled a Zoom call. Romance? Gone? Date nights? Forgotten? Family plans? Pushed to next quarter." And in that big house there was Sarah, the help, a 25-year-old from a village in a Bia state, semi-illiterate, yes, but street-smart, with sense that books cannot teach, always wrapping her scarf like village mummy G.O., but her eyes always shine like person wasabi things. Every morning it was the same routine, Olivia barking orders. "Sarah, wash the car, clean my shoes, pack my work bag." Sarah replying with her usual calm, "Yes, ma, I hear you, ma." Even Dave had started noticing how his once sweet Olivia had become cold. He sat alone in the dining room most mornings, fork in hand. But no food, because Olivia never had time to cook again. And even when Sarah cooked, Olivia would wrinkle her nose like the food offended her ancestors. One day Dave couldn't take it anymore. He slammed his car keys on the table. "Olivia, is this how we're going to live forever? Is your job more important than your family?" Olivia scoffed. "Family? Please, Dave, don't be dramatic. You knew who I was before you married me. I'm not one of those idle women that sit around waiting for men to feed them." Dave just shook his head. And somewhere in the background, Sarah paused with her mopstick, pretending not to hear but recording everything in her mental diary. Then came the whispers, that Olivia had been pregnant before, that there was a miscarriage, but no one knew when, not even Dave. Olivia kept working, even when her body was bleeding silently. She would feel cramps and dizziness but still wear makeup and go to board meetings. Her motto was, "Business must go on." One rainy Monday morning, as thunder roared like angry spirits, Dave noticed blood on the bedsheet. "Olivia, what is this? You're bleeding." But Olivia rolled her eyes and adjusted her blazer. "It's nothing. I have a flight to catch." They argued, and as she tried to stomp out of the house in heels, she collapsed at the door. Boom, flat on the marble tiles. Dave screamed. Sarah dropped her mop and ran to help. Olivia was rushed to the hospital. In the emergency room, doctors worked quickly. They ran tests, then pulled Dave aside. "Sir, she had a miscarriage long ago. The scarring caused internal damage. We need to remove the womb immediately to save her life." Dave froze. His chest rose and fell like a generator struggling to start. His eyes were red. He whispered, "You mean she won't be able to have children again?" The doctor nodded slowly. Dave clenched his fists. He remembered how many times he begged her to check her health. But career came first, and just when he thought the day couldn't get worse. At the hospital bed, Olivia was unconscious. Machines beeped. Drip hung beside her. And then a man in corporate wear entered, tall, clean shave, holding a brown envelope. He dropped it on the hospital bedside and walked out like a spirit. Inside the envelope, termination letter. Her position had been replaced. No sorry, no get well soon, just thank you for your service. When Olivia finally woke up and read the letter, her hands shook. She cried, not the cute tears, real gutter tears, the kind that makes you choke and cough in between sobs. Dave sat beside her. He looked at her with tired eyes and said, "The same people you sacrificed your womb for him didn't even wait for you to wake up before replacing you." Silence. Olivia didn't answer, because she had nothing left to say. In the weeks that followed Olivia's surgery, the house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that wraps around you like cold water. Olivia, once the lioness of the boardroom, now sat on the same velvet couch she used to bark orders from. Only this time, she was the one being served water, soup and pills. Dave barely said much. He'd come back from work, greet her politely, and retreat to his study. The man who once waited for her at the gate with flowers and suya now walked past her like she was one of the flower vases. Sarah, the one Olivia never spared a kind word, now handled everything. She would boil hot water for Olivia's bath, make light pepper soup, and arrange her drugs in small dishes. Olivia, whether she liked it or not, had to say thank you sometimes, but even the thank yous came out like she was swallowing stones. One evening, as the sky turned grey and rain began to drizzle softly outside, Dave came home early. He sat across from Olivia and cleared his throat. "Doctor said we can try surrogacy." Olivia blinked. "Surrogacy?" "Yes. They can use my sperm and donor eggs. Since your eggs—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Olivia looked away. The silence hung between them like soaked bed sheets. A week later, they were seated in the fertility clinic. The walls were white, the nurse was friendly, and the doctor had the kind of confidence that only people who've delivered hundreds of babies could carry. After explaining everything, the doctor smiled and said, "We have someone. Her name is Lillian. She's done this 3 times before, very experienced." Olivia and Dave exchanged a look. Dave nodded. 2 days later, Lillian arrived at their house. She was tall, skin smooth like fresh pap, nails long and painted red. She wore a short black gown that didn't try to hide anything and walked like she was on a runway. When she entered their living room, she looked around like she was inspecting a hotel. "So this is where the magic will happen," she said with a sly smile. Olivia forced a smile. "Please sit." Lillian crossed her legs and looked at Dave. "You're finer in person, sir. Pictures didn't do you justice." Dave shifted uncomfortably. Olivia's face tightened. For 2 weeks, Lillian stayed in the guest room, moved like she owned the place and always found a way to make small remarks that cut deep. One afternoon, Olivia caught her spraying Dave's perfume in her room. "Lillian, is everything all right?" Olivia asked, standing by the doorway. Lillian turned and smiled. "Ah, yes, I just love the smell of successful men. You're lucky." That evening during dinner, Lillian crossed her arms on the table and leaned toward Dave. "You know," she said casually, "since I'm the one giving the eggs and carrying the baby, why don't we just do it naturally? No need for injections and all those lab things. Let's keep it real." Dave almost choked on his water. Olivia stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "Get out," she whispered. Lillian blinked. "Excuse me?" Olivia's voice rose. "I said get out of my house, now!" Dave stood up too, voice firm. "Lillian, leave. This arrangement is cancelled." Lillian rolled her eyes, picked her bag slowly, and walked out like she had won. But the sting of her words remained. After the door slammed shut, Olivia sat back down. Her hands were shaking. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered. Dave rubbed his forehead. "We'll find someone better, someone respectful." That night, Olivia sat alone in the living room. The TV was on, but her mind wasn't there. Her eyes scanned the room until they landed on Sarah, who was quietly wiping down the glass table. And just like that, a thought hit her. Sarah was young, strong, healthy, and simple-minded. Maybe, just maybe. Olivia cleared her throat. "Sarah, come." Sarah walked over, holding the cleaning rag in one hand. "Yes, Ma." Olivia patted the space beside her. "Sit down. I want to talk to you." Sarah hesitated but sat. "Do you know what surrogacy means?" Sarah frowned. "Surrow what, Ma?" "It means when someone helps another person carry a baby. Like, I give you a baby. You carry it in your belly for 9 months, and when the baby comes out, you give it back to me." Sarah's eyes widened. "Ha! Is that possible?" Olivia smiled. "Very possible. And legal. You'll be paid. Very well." Sarah scratched her head. "You mean you'll put baby inside me, and when I born it, I will give it to you?" "Yes." "And the baby will not be mine?" "No, it'll be mine and Olga's, not yours." Sarah stared at the floor. "But how will the baby enter?" Olivia avoided the question. "We'll go to the hospital. Doctor will do it." Later that week, they went to the hospital. The doctor explained everything again. Sarah nodded like she understood, but deep down some of the grammar was flying past her head. Still she agreed. Weeks passed. Then one day Sarah came out of the hospital room with a pregnancy test in her hand and tears in her eyes. It was positive. Olivia hugged her like she was hugging a golden trophy. Dave smiled and shook her hand like she just won a contract. From that day, Sarah became royalty in the house. Her chores were reduced. Olivia bought her new clothes. Dave always asked if she was okay. She was fed like a queen and pampered like one. 9 months later, twins arrived, a boy and a girl. Sarah was weak but smiling. Dave cried when he carried the babies. Olivia stood by the window, looking out at the night sky, whispering, "Finally." For the next 3 months, Olivia barely slept. She doted on the babies, took pictures, posted them online with captions like, "God finally showed up." But then came the day of separation. In the living room, Olivia handed Sarah a brown envelope. 2 million naira, as promised. Sarah opened it slowly. Her eyes widened. Then something shifted in her face. She looked at Olivia, then at the babies sleeping in their cot. She closed the envelope and gave it back. "I can't take it," she said softly. "What?" Olivia frowned. "Why?" "I can't trade my children for any amount." Olivia stood up. "Your what?" "My twins. I carried them. I birthed them. I can't leave them behind." The room went silent. Dave stepped in. "Sarah, don't do this. That was the agreement." "I know. But my heart no gree. I love them. I dream of them. When they cry, it's me they want." Olivia's voice shook. "We paid you. We took care of you. You knew this from day one." "But I didn't know it would feel like this," Sarah whispered. A storm began to brew. Tension filled every corner of the house, and somewhere in the middle of it, a dangerous idea began to form in Olivia's mind, one that would turn this home upside down. Olivia stopped sleeping, not because the twins kept her up at night. No, Sarah handled that part. She stopped sleeping because her mind wouldn't shut up. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sarah's face. That stubborn look when she said, "I can't trade my children for any amount." Those words echoed in Olivia's chest like drum beats. She tried to pretend everything was fine. She smiled at visitors. She posted more baby photos online. She even hosted a naming ceremony that looked like a wedding. People clapped and admired the twins, chubby cheeks, rich skin, full hair. But behind the scenes, there was a war going on in her house. Sarah was no longer just the help. She had become the mother of the children Olivia had been praying for, and it was showing. The twins, especially the boy, responded to Sarah like their spirits recognized her heartbeat. If he cried, it was Sarah's arms that calmed him. If he needed sleep, it was her chest he curled into. Olivia would try, but they would cry harder. One day, during feeding time, Olivia carried the girl and tried to feed her. The baby kept turning away, whining, pushing the bottle. Sarah walked into the room, wiped her hands on her wrapper and said softly, "Maybe she wants breast instead of bottle." Olivia snapped. "Get out of this room," she yelled. Sarah froze. I said out. If you had any shame, you would have left this house the day you collected my money." Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes glistened. She turned and left. Dave came in just as she passed him in the hallway. Her eyes avoided his. He stepped into the room and asked gently, "What happened?" She's crossing boundaries, Dave. She's beginning to think she owns them. They came from her body, Olivia. Olivia turned sharply. Are you taking her side now? Dave raised his hands. I'm taking nobody's side. I'm saying the truth. The woman carried those babies for 9 months. You can't erase that just because you paid her. Olivia's voice was low, dangerous. So I'm just, what, a sponsor? I didn't say that. No, say it. Let's call it what it is. You've been soft on her since day one. Is there something I should know? Shouted Olivia. Dave blinked. What are you implying? I don't know. You tell me. Dave looked at her like she had grown horns. Then he turned around and walked out. The door closed softly behind him, but the sound still felt like a slap. That night, Olivia stayed up. Her eyes were puffy from crying. The lights in the house were off. Everyone was asleep except her. And that was when the idea came. Dark. Wicked. But in that moment, it felt like justice. She stood up quietly, walked to the kitchen, opened the lower cabinet where the rat poison was kept. She looked at it for a long time. Then she took a small pinch, just a little, mixed it into the stew that Sarah had kept for her own dinner, covered the pot back, and walked away. The next morning, Olivia woke up feeling like a weight had been lifted. She took her tea in the living room, humming to herself. Suddenly she heard a scream from the kitchen. It was loud, real, full of pain. Dave came running in, shirt half-buttoned. He found Sarah crouched by the sink holding her throat, tears pouring down her face. I don't know, sir, she croaked. I eat small rice and stew, and my chest begins to burn. I feel like fire day inside me. Dave turned to Olivia, his voice tight. What happened? Olivia shrugged. How am I supposed to know? She cooks her own food. But Sarah was pointing at the pot. Madam Toucham, last night, I see her. Dave's face changed. Olivia, tell me she's lying. Olivia didn't answer. Tell me you didn't touch that food, he said again. Olivia stood up, rage filling her face. So I'm now a killer? You believe this village girl over me? Dave's voice rose. Don't twist this, Olivia. You're not the woman I married. You've changed. She wants to take everything from me, Olivia shouted. She already has their love. Now she wants you too. Enough! Dave's voice boomed through the house. Sarah was shaking. Her body is weak, face pale. Dave rushed to help her up. He carried her gently into the car. Olivia stood by the window, watching as her husband drove off with the woman who had once mopped their floors. That was the moment she realized she had lost, not just her womb, not just her job, not just her children, but now, possibly, her husband. The rain didn't stop that night. It poured like the sky had something to say, like it was angry or maybe just sad, the kind of rain that soaked everything to the bone and made you think about all your mistakes. Olivia stood by the window, staring into the dark streets of Port Harcourt. Her phone hadn't rung. Dave hadn't returned. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that shouted in your ears. She looked at her reflection in the glass. Her eyes were swollen. Her hair, once neatly packed in tight coils, now looked like it had given up too. She touched her face and whispered to herself, How did I get here? Just a few months ago she was on top of the world. Big madam in oil and gas, boardroom killer, queen of her own world. And Sarah. That one was in the hospital fighting for her life. Dave had not even bothered to call. He hadn't picked her calls either. She called again. It rang. He cut it. She sat down slowly, pressed her palm to her chest. She could feel her heart beating fast like a drum during a village dance. At that moment, she knew she had crossed a line, not just in marriage, not just as a woman, but as a human being. She tried to cry again, but the tears didn't come, only silence. 2 days passed, no word from Dave, no update about Sarah, no baby cries either, because Dave had taken the twins along when he left. The house felt like an abandoned hotel, too clean, too empty. Then on the 3rd day her doorbell rang. She rushed to the door, hoping it was Dave. Maybe he had come back with the babies. Maybe he had forgiven her. Maybe. But it was not Dave. It was her elder sister, Anita. Olivia froze. Anita walked in without waiting for an invitation. She looked around the house like someone inspecting damage after a hurricane. "So this is how you've been living?" Anita said, dumping her wet handbag on the chair. "No house help, no food smell, no baby noise, dead silence. Just like your marriage." Olivia blinked. "You've started." "I haven't even begun," Anita snapped. "I just came from the hospital." Olivia's heart skipped. "How is she?" "She's stable now. The poison didn't reach her lungs. But they said if Dave hadn't brought her in when he did, she would have died." Olivia slumped on the chair. "I just want my life back," she whispered. "Which life?" Anita asked sharply. "The one where you bark orders like you're queen of shell. The one where you treat your husband like a houseboy and your maid like an insect." Olivia covered her face with her hands. "You've always been proud, Liv. Always thinking your career makes you better than the rest of us. Now look, no job, no babies, no husband. Even Sarah, the girl you mocked for not speaking English well, she's the one everyone is praying for now." Silence. Then Anita's voice softened. "Olivia, where is your heart? You actually tried to poison her." "I wasn't thinking," Olivia whispered. "No, you were thinking. You just weren't feeling." Anita stood up and picked her bag. "Dave said, if you want to see the children, you'll have to come to court." Olivia's head shot up. "Court?" "Yes, he's filing for full custody and assault and attempted murder." Olivia felt like the floor under her cracked. "Dave wants to take my babies," Anita scoffed. "What babies? You didn't donate eggs. You didn't carry them. You didn't even mother them for 3 months. Sarah did everything. All you did was take pictures and bark orders." She moved to the door. "Go and fix your life, Olivia, because the next time we meet it may be in front of a judge." The door slammed shut. Olivia sat still, unable to move. Her ears were ringing. Her body was shaking. Was this how her story would end? She spent the night walking from room to room. She looked at the babies' clothes, their tiny shoes, their toys. She sat in their empty nursery, holding the teddy bear she had bought for them. She smelled it. It still had Sarah's scent. By morning her eyes were red. She called her lawyer. "Prepare me for court," she said, voice hoarse. "But madam," the lawyer said cautiously, "if DNA confirms the children are biologically Sarah's and Dave's, your chances of winning custody—" "Do what you can," she snapped. "I'm not losing my children." A week later, court documents were served to her house. The hearing was set. It was all over social media. Oil company GM faces court over surrogacy gone wrong. The blogs feasted on it. Some called her selfish, some called her a villain, some even defended her, said any woman would feel threatened if her maid suddenly became the mother of her children. But the court of public opinion was not what scared her. What scared her was the idea that she may never hold those babies again. The day of the first hearing arrived. Olivia stepped into the courtroom in a plain black dress, no makeup, no heels, just flat shoes and swollen eyes. Dave was already seated. Sarah sat beside him wearing a simple wrapper and blouse, holding the twins in each arm. They were quiet, peaceful, like they didn't know the war happening over them. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Everyone sat. And then the real battle began. The courtroom was cold, not because of the air conditioner, but because of the tension. The kind of tension you could cut with a kitchen knife. Olivia sat on one side, her lawyer flipping through papers, whispering strategies into her ears. But her eyes were not on the file. They were fixed on the twins, peacefully asleep in Sarah's arms. Dave sat beside them, protective, silent, watching everything unfold like a man who had lost too much to speak. The judge adjusted his glasses and looked at the three of them. "This is not just a case about legality," he said. "It is a case about heart, about motherhood, about betrayal." One by one, the lawyers took turns. Olivia's lawyer painted her as a victim of desperation, said she acted out of fear of losing her only shot at motherhood, that surrogacy was agreed upon, that money was paid, that she had every right to claim the children as hers. Sarah's lawyer, a calm, elderly man with wisdom in his voice, said something that made the whole courtroom pause. Biologically, emotionally, and spiritually, those twins grew inside her. She nursed them, she wept through the nights, she sang lullabies, she took nothing and gave everything. Can motherhood be bought with money? Olivia lowered her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. The judge turned to Dave. "You are the father, what do you want?" Dave looked up. His voice was steady. "I want peace, and I want my children safe. And right now, Sarah is the one they know. She is the one they reach for when they cry." Then he paused, looked at Olivia. "But I also want Olivia to get help. She's not a bad woman. She lost herself." There was a silence that spread like oil on water. The judge sighed deeply. "I will give joint custody," he finally said, "but the children must remain primarily in Sarah's care. Olivia, if you wish to be a mother to them, you must rebuild the trust you've broken, with them and with yourself." The gavel hit the wood. Case adjourned. Olivia didn't move. She sat there as people packed their things and left. Even as Dave and Sarah stood up and began walking out with the babies, she watched them go, her body frozen, her heart broken, but something else rising in her. Realization that motherhood is not just about owning the womb, but showing the heart. That love cannot be bought. That people are not machines to be programmed. They are souls to be nurtured. She stood up slowly and walked out of the courtroom. The sun was shining, but she didn't feel it, yet. As she stepped outside, her sister Anita was waiting. "You okay?" Anita asked. "No," Olivia whispered. "But I will be." Anita nodded. "Then let that be the beginning." Olivia looked up. For the first time in months, she allowed the sun to hit her face. And in that moment, something deep inside her began to shift. A new journey was starting. One that wouldn't begin with power or money, but with humility, healing, and hope. Because sometimes it takes losing everything to understand what truly matters. Moral lesson: pride can build mansions, but only humility can make a home. You can pay for a womb, but you cannot buy a mother's heart. Love in its truest form requires sacrifice, not control. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your healing might be someone else's lesson. Subscribe for more African stories that don't just entertain, but speak to the soul.